Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. I picked up a new knife from Joker. This isn't my first knife from Joker. It's actually my second one. Now, if you're not familiar with the brand, I would suggest checking out Williams Knife Life. He has a lot of knives by Joker, a lot of fixed blades by Joker, and they look pretty good. This is a folder, as you can probably tell. And like I said, this is not my first Joker. It's actually my second. The first one I picked up was about 10 years ago, and it was this little mushroom knife. I know I've shown it on the channel a couple times. I don't know if I've ever did an actual review of it. But this is in their JKR line. If you see there, it says JKR Inox. And when it's JKR as opposed to the full word Joker, it refers to a knife that was produced in China or Pakistan, one of the two places. The knife I'll be showing you in a minute is from Spain, but this is was an interesting knife, and I'll definitely have to review it again someday if I haven't already reviewed it. Anyway, it probably deserves another review because as mushroom knives, it is somewhat different. You know, you got a cap lifter and a can opener there, and you got the mushroom blade, and you got the little boar hair brush, and you also got a corkscrew. Not the typical things you find on a mushroom knife. But in any case, like I said, maybe I'll do a thorough review of this in another video. This was a Joker International, or JKR knife. This is one that's actually made in Spain. The Joker Jerezana Classic. And you see camping and hiking there. Got a big long number there, but the number for the knife is actually NO00. Again, the Jerezana Classic. You'll see that it also has a different name for the pattern or whatever they want to call it on the knife. And, well, like it says, handcrafted sporting cutlery. And this one is a product of Spain. Crafted in Spain. It is made in Spain. And you can see here now the full name Joker on the blade. You also see the blade still used in there, which is interesting because when I was looking at it, the listing online, all they listed it as was MOV or MO vanadium, which is what the Millennium vanadium in the front there stands for. But then what you also see is the 4116, which is a type of German stainless steel, which comes in right up there somewhere between 440A and 440B, somewhere around there. And you see there the name on the blade, the Sevillana or Sevillana. Someone in Spain can tell me how to actually pronounce it, but I believe it's like Sevillana. And there's where it was made. The AB stands for where it was made. In Spain is what? Albacete, Spain. My Spanish is awful, I know that. But what you have on here, and one of the main reasons I picked it up is, well, you've got the olive wood covers held on by brass pins. You see the brass liners, and then the brass bolsters on each end. You got the wonderful powder horn bolster down here in the classic Spanish style with the little bulb at the end here. And you see the nice cuts and everything going in there. And you also have all sorts of threading up on top here. The threading on top could have been a little bit better, but you can see where the brass pin comes through there. They might have wanted to just leave these two lines out, but they didn't. And you see it on the other side here where the brass pin comes through. Very deep cuts into the brass though. And then you've got the nice satin finish on the stainless steel blade. You've got a stainless steel back spring and a stainless steel lever here. And this is the lever that is used to unlock the blade. So a lot of people refer to it as a lever lock, but it's really a lever release. And this one stays wherever you put it. So if you open it up, it's going to stay there. If you push it down, it stays there. And let's get the blade opened up here. Got a wonderful clip blade. Look at that wonderful long clip blade going on. And they did a really good job with the edge on there. Nice saber grind. Hollow grind going on too. And you can see the edge of the blade really good there. And also here. And it is very sharp. I was cutting up paper with it with no issues at all. A slight swedge on the top here. Not a lot, but a little bit of a swedge, enough to give it a little bit of an accent. If you notice, it does not ratchet around. So it is a non-ratcheting locking knife. And a lot of people complain about that. But I could have sworn I read somewhere that Spain passed legislation at one time outlawing ratcheting knives. These originally ratcheted a long time ago, but I think Spain actually outlawed the ratcheting mechanism on knives, and that's why this does not ratchet around, and so you don't hear that wonderful click, click, click like you hear on the Okapi here. Listen to the Okapi or watch. Hear that? That's how the Okapi ratchets around. This is smooth. There's no ratcheting. But when it gets to the point of locking, and notice this is where I finally get resistance. Nowhere along here is there any resistance to opening. But when I get to that point, you got to physically pull it in, and it'll lock in place. Did you hear that snap? And then the lever here, you push up. You really got to push up hard, and it'll break loose. Now, a lot of knives with this kind of lever, as soon as you push up and it breaks loose, the lever is released, and you can close the blade. All this does is release or breaks the lock, but you actually have to pull down on that lever, and then the blade is released again, and you can close it. And again, you have to close it manually. You have to push it down by hand. But you see here, watch. See how little of motion you have on there? The lever, you really have to move it yourself. I had a problem with that when I first got it. It was annoying me because I would open it, it would lock, I'd press on it, and I'd be, oh man. And I was doing this, trying to release it, but all you have to do is pull it back and then it'll release. So I think with practice, you'll get to the point where you can break, release, and close fairly quickly, almost in one motion. But that's the way this particular one works. The knife goes for right around $50. Is it perfect? Well, you can be the judge of that. I mean, you can definitely see gaps between the spring and the liners here, the brass liners. Obviously, there are no gaps between the bolsters and the liners because they're all molded into each other. You can also see definitely gaps between the olive wood and the bolsters. Not so much here, but definitely between the olive wood and the bolsters. But it is well pinned. The pins are very smooth. Can kind of feel this one just a little bit, but not much. But the wood also has some really good character in there for olive wood. So I really like the olive wood. You can see the lines or the grooves cut into the brass bolsters. Very deep, very wide, and very classic of Spain. They did a much better job on the powder horn than they did up at the top bolster, mainly because of the brass pin that comes through there. I think it would have been better if they would have just left off these two lines here. I guess they could have cut it a little bit better. Maybe I could get in there with a file and cut it, and then add a little darkening agent into there. But this one looks good. The top one looks good. It's just that one line there that has a little bit of an issue because of the pin there. But that is also very classic of the way the Spanish make the knives. But you can see here, I mean, really good lock. and every time I open and close it, I get a little bit better working with the lock. But it's not a fast lock. Got other ones here. This one here, this one is by Arbolito, I think. This one actually does have a little tension on the back spring, and this back spring is more in line of the kind of back spring you have on a copy. Again, this one does not ratchet around. This supposedly both of these are olive wood. This is not olive wood. They claimed it was olive wood, but it looks I don't know, looks more like a pine to me. But anyway, when this one opens up and locks, notice this thing flops around a bit, which is, the lock breaks a lot easier though and closes. But this one, the lock flaps everywhere, so not as cool. And well, you have the outer spring, so it's cool, but not as cool as this one as far as I'm concerned. And then here's my other one. This is the one in the ram's horn. This one, this lever also moves quite freely, but it also locks fairly well. Blade is a little straighter than it is on the Joker, but the release works really well too. Again though, this one is typical in that you have to push it all the way around. It's very much a friction folder that just has a very good lock on it. So all in all, I mean, I'm pretty impressed with this. One other thing I do want to mention though is, well, let's do some size comparisons. There's your 5-inch toothpick from Rough Rider. So you can see it is a little bit bigger than the 5-inch toothpick from Rough Rider. Let's open up the blades and compare it. This handle feels pretty substantial and feels good in the hand. You got plenty of hand to grab onto here too, if you can see there. See that? You got the little tip there. There's the difference in blades. Much more substantial blade going on. 4-inch blade versus a blade that's almost 4 3/4 inches or 4.5 inches, something like that. I'll have it in the specs, but you can see the difference there in the blade lengths. This one is obviously straighter too. If we were to compare it to your Okapi, well, you can see big difference in clip blades, and the Sevilla has it beaten quite a bit actually. Let's do it this way and we can see there, boom, right against there, turn it over and you see the difference. Got it beat by about 1/2 inch. What about here? Again, about 1/2 inch difference. So a much longer blade on this. Lengthwise on the handle length is about the same as an Okapi, but the Okapi is straighter and doesn't have as pronounced powder horn. So it's not nearly as classy looking. Obviously also the Okapi is using the ring release, which is often called a ring lock, and it ratchets around. For those who don't know, the ring lock or ring release predates this little lever. The lever was introduced after the ring release, and it's basically a different way to release this the back spring here. And you know, it came out about 100 or so years later after the ring. The ring is not something novel or new that the Okapis came out with. It's been around for a good 300-400 years. The lever is also relatively old too. It's a couple hundred years old. The lever also turns into that B that you see on all those Laguil knives. So a lot of knives trace back to these Spanish Navajas. And the little B here, it is kind of a semi-lock on there, because if you notice, see the little latch there, the little notch there, that slides up underneath here. This is one by Right Edge. Slides up underneath there, and it gives a good purchase. So the blade, you have to actually put some force on it to break the lock free. It's just not as strong of a lock as what you have here, because, well, let's take a look here. Let's break this one open. See how pronounced the bump is there, how deep the cutout is there versus, can you even see it there? You can barely see it there, but there is a cutout there too. So this, if this cutout was more, if it came up higher, then you would need a ring or a lever instead of just the little B here. The B does have the little catch underneath to hold the blade in place, but this one is much more pronounced. But you can see where the B comes from now. It comes from the old lever that you found on the Spanish Navajas. You know, once you get used to this one, it works pretty good, and the more I've been using it, the more I've been liking it. So anyway, there you have it. Fit and finish wise, I think it's adequate. Definitely a just a basic friction folder with a locking blade. So once you get it all the way around and it locks, it's not going to give up. A little bit of wobble there, but it's not going to break. The only way it's going to break is if you push on that lever and release it, and then you got to close it yourself. Still a pretty cool knife. Stick around. I got plenty of slide pictures of this knife. Really do dig it. I think it's worth the $50 I paid for it, and I think there's one in horn, buffalo horn, that I'm probably going to grab too. This video has already been going on for some time. I had hoped to also compare the Sevillana to the 304L Cudaman, which is a ring release knife, also out of Spain, also in olive wood. But as this has already taken some time, I'll just have a few pictures in the slideshow of the two knives, and I will revisit both of these knives in a later video because they're both pretty cool, and they both have their own pluses and minuses. In any case, I'll save that for a later video.
thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.